Hey, what's going on YouTube? So in this video, we are going to talk about the end times. We're going to talk about Revelation. We're going to talk about the Antichrist, the Four Horsemen, World War III, things like that. There are probably going to be things said by me that you may not agree with, and that's, perfectly fine. I have my own opinions on a few things. I have my own sort of scenarios. I don't know if that's the right word. But I do hold on to everything very loosely. Okay? I don't hold on to it with an iron grip or anything like that. It's just, I think this might happen. Okay, if it doesn't, whatever, But I'm ready, okay? I see the signs that Jesus talks about all over the place. I see why they are happening, which is key for me. And I'll get into that here in a minute. I see more of a backlash than ever before regarding Christians, Jews, and things of that nature. So, in my opinion, are we in the end times, or are we going into what will become the tribulation? My opinion is yes. When the disciples are talking to Jesus, they ask him, "How will we know when you are going to return?" Basically says there will be wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places, and troublesome times. Now, a lot of people read that and they're like, oh, okay, so we know now. Okay, these things are being fulfilled now, more than ever before. My generation, your generation probably, depending on how old you are, is the first generation to ever have all of the signs that Jesus talked about happening at the same time, more than they ever have before. Well, there's always been wars. We have more wars now than ever before. Oh, there's always been earthquakes. We have more earthquakes than ever before. Oklahoma, if you live somewhere else in the world, Australia, the UK, whatever, Oklahoma is a state in America. Okay, I live one state over from Oklahoma. I live in Texas. When Oklahoma goes from 2 to 3 earthquakes per year, say in 2010, 2011, somewhere in there, to having 900 in 2015, you have a problem. It doesn't matter if they're 2.0 earthquakes or 3.0 earthquakes or 5.2 or anything like that, or 10 point whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, if it was a 10.0, I mean, that's something else, but they're happening more than normal. And people read earthquakes in diverse places and they don't think. It goes through their head and out the other end. Jesus is saying this 2,000 years ago. You could not tell anyone that there was an earthquake in America if you lived in Israel. The only way you would know is if a sailor came across the ocean, got off the boat, and struck up a conversation with you about an earthquake that happened 3 months ago, 5 months ago. I don't know how long it takes for someone to get across the ocean in a little boat that has no motor. The point is now you actually can see and hear about earthquakes in diverse places. So Jesus, in a way, is already telling us that when you are able to see earthquakes in diverse places, the times are close. So when TV was invented, which was in, like what, the 60s or something like that, maybe earlier, don't, freak out, 40s, 30s, 20s, whatever. When that was invented, that started. I think a lot of people could say, well, that started the clock for the end time prophecies. A lot of people will say, well, the nation of Israel being born in 1948 could be the start of the clock. And I sort of lean towards that being the start of the end time clock, because it says something about before the generation is out, a lot of these things, or actually all of these prophecies that I think, I want to say Isaiah, might not have been Isaiah, but these things will pass before the generation is out. So if you go from 1948, 70 years later, which is what is considered a generation, you get 2018. So, yeah, there's something weird going on here. There is something weird going on here. And when you take that, okay, maybe, the Antichrist is going to be in power for 3.5 months. A lot of people say Obama is the Antichrist. If he is the Antichrist, he's going to run for a third term. Correction. He's not going to run for a third term. He's going to use executive powers or some sort of disaster to get a third term. And he may very well be the Antichrist. There are many people who think he's a Muslim. Many people who think he's Islamic. I'm one of those people. He seems to not like talking bad about radical Muslims. And when you look at his background, it's very shady and what people have come out with. He's basically a Muslim. There's no other way around it. He has a Muslim name. He looks like a Muslim. And he doesn't ever talk bad about radical Muslims. So, it's sort of weird, and he never sides with the Christians. So is he the Antichrist? I don't know. But if he is, the 2016 election will be sort of this pivotal point. Okay? Could the start of 2016 be his first year? And then 2017 the second year, 2018 the third year, and I guess you could say halfway through 2015 that would have been 3.5 years, which would mean we're halfway through the tribulation, which I don't think we are. But could you use some of these things? The Bible is full of patterns and weird sort of, you have one book, say in Revelation, well, there's another book over here where it's a little story, and this little story is miniaturized, but it tells the same story that is about to happen in the future on a massive scale. So is Obama taking this little power trip, if you want to call it that, a miniaturized version of what is to come in the future? Are we going to be raptured out beforehand? Are we, what's really going on here? Okay, you've got the signs. They're here. A lot of people think we're ramping up to the tribulation, which I believe as well. You have the whole UFO phenomenon to worry about. You have the whole ISIS thing and radical Muslims and, all sorts of things out there you got to worry about. So what I see happening, and this is just me, if Obama, well, let me back up. If Obama is the Antichrist, he will say this. Basically, we need to grow up. We need to put our differences aside because there is an alien threat. Now he's sort of hinted at talking about aliens. A lot of people think this is the year that we're going to get disclosure. I think they are saving this for later on. A lot of people think 2016 is going to be the rapture. A lot of people are thinking that Obama's the Antichrist. What I'm saying is when you have so many consciences, I'm not saying that word right, when you have so many people basically thinking the same thing, when you have so many minds thinking the same thing, does it manifest itself or does it not manifest itself? I don't know. But there has to be truth in something. You could call it the Holy Spirit, you could call it whatever, where it's saying, hey, wake up. This is going on. This is somebody of an importance. Talks about how, and when I say it, I'm talking about the Bible. The Bible talks about how, the Antichrist will be wounded. If Obama basically says, hey everyone, chill out, aliens are real, I'm running for a third term, we need to do something, someone in the crowd who's a little crazy, they're going to do something. Okay? They're going to do something, and it will fulfill biblical prophecy. Is Trump the Antichrist? There are already so many people who already follow him. In my opinion, he seems too good to be true. But if I were to vote for somebody, it would definitely be Trump. Just throwing that out there. But like I said, it seems almost too good to be true. He could say anything he wants. He could say the things that need to be said to get him into power, and he could basically shut it all down very quickly. He could, I lied, and then go off and do other things. Because the church is asleep, most Americans are asleep, and they are waking up. But when you're awake and you do nothing, it's really no better than being asleep, to be honest. You become aware of the evil, but if you don't do anything about it, then it's sort of pointless. So getting back to my whole scenario, he announces there's aliens. And the reason why he does that is because the rapture may happen after. So then, you've got aliens are real. We need to band together, like it says when it talks about the 4 horsemen. The first one comes on a white horse. Now, it's not Jesus, because we are told that the Lamb, Jesus, is opening up the seals. So how can he be in 2 places at once? Not saying he can't, but he's not. So the rider on the white horse, the one with the bow, it's not a weapon. It's not a bow and arrow. Why would John write about, he's got a bow, but no arrows and no quiver? No. The bow he is referencing is like a peace treaty. It is a covenant. It is something that is in his hand, and he is saying, we will have peace on this planet, and he is going to conquer, people. He's going to conquer kingdoms and countries and so on and so forth. And he is bent on conquest. And if Obama or somebody of his stature comes out and says, aliens are a threat, you've got it. Peace treaty right now, everyone chill out. And then what happens after that? War. I think the rapture happens in between these two. That is just my opinion. But that being said, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's a lot to think about, a lot to chew on. I will probably go into more depth with specific stories in Revelation, but that is it.